Most people hear Bremerton is booming and growing a lot, but that doesn't mean Bremerton as a whole or Kitsap County as a whole is doing the same thing. That's not how this market works. There's definitely neighborhoods that are stacking the momentum in 2026, and if you pick the wrong one, that's going to affect your daily lifestyle significantly. You're looking at the whole county of Kitsap, countywide, and you're looking at the pockets that are growing the fastest. A clear pattern shows up. And that's why in this video, I'm breaking down the Bremerton market, what the market's doing right now, the speed, the trajectory, and what's going to change in 2026. The Kitsap suburbs with the biggest growth signals in 2026. And why each one is tightening for a different reason, and how to pick the right neighborhood for your commute, your lifestyle, your day-to-day living, and your budget. Hi, I'm Cassandra. I help buyers relocate to Bremerton and Kitsap County all over. My job is to give you the trade-offs, the reality, the traffic patterns, the micro-location differences, and what home buyers are doing in your specific neighborhood and price range. All right, let's start with a little bit of reality, because Kitsap County is moving, but not moving at the same pace or the same direction all over the place. We're going to start with the neighborhood of Silverdale. Silverdale is not random growth. Silverdale is right smack dab in the center of the urban growth area in Kitsap County, specifically central Kitsap County. This is where they anticipate that, future growth is going to happen, population booms are going to happen. This is where new neighborhoods, the planned unit developments, are going to get the most variances. They're going to get the most waivers for lot size and density and all of that stuff. So it's slated to be really high density. So think lots of people, lots of traffic, lots of infrastructure. And you can actively see that with all of the new construction neighborhoods going in all over Silverdale in these previously undeveloped areas that may have started before the market crashed in 2008. It was a slow crawl getting out of all of that, but now the builders are back. They are back in full force, and a lot of the areas that are being developed by national builders. So the local builders are being edged out in exchange for these national builders who have all the money and all the resources. And Silverdale is unique because we have this multi-million-dollar, completely renovated brand new hospital in Silverdale, St. Michael Medical Center, that has been attracting healthcare professionals of all ranks and all grades and all sizes and shapes. And so they need a conveniently accessible place to live to their job, right? So St. Michael Medical Center has been a huge influence on the growth in Silverdale. Silverdale is going to be your major hub for shopping and convenience. So you're going to purchase in Silverdale and you're going to pay a premium for the convenience. So some places are walkable. Most places are pretty car dependent. Geographically, it's a basin, like the shopping center is a basin, and then the residential is all of the surrounding hilltops. And so, you're walking up and down hills all the time. So maybe a little bit more car dependent, but it's super easy. Like everywhere is 5 to 10 minutes away by car. And so, yeah, you're driving, but it's super close. And so you could be within 5 minutes of your job and 5 minutes of your kid's school and 5 minutes of shopping. I mean, that sounds like a pretty easy lifestyle, not to mention because all the shopping is right there and so close to your front door. You can have DoorDash, you can have Uber Eats, you can have Instacart, you can have all these delivery services just catering to your weeknight dinner fiasco that you forgot to thaw out some chicken, so now you have to order Instacart. The style of housing that's available in Silverdale is going to be a lot of single family homes. There's a few condo developments, very few. Most of them are going to be single family homes. And so, they're bigger homes, 3 and 4 bedrooms. A lot of them were built in the 80s and 90s. And now we're seeing this big boom of brand new construction. And they're all big houses on tiny lots, which means that you're going to get the size of family to fill those houses, but also people who don't want to maintain a yard, don't care about having a small yard, want a low maintenance lifestyle overall, which is a lot of what Silverdale real estate can afford. It's best for people who are relocating, who just want convenience. They don't want to worry about the neighborhood. They don't want to worry about how far am I going to be from X, Y, and Z. They just want to plug and play, buy a house in Silverdale and be really, really close to all those amenities. Be close to the hospital, Bangor base, Bremerton base, but also have quick access to recreational stuff like hiking trails and waterfront and boating and fishing and all of these things that Pacific Northwest offers on a day-to-day. Because of all the jobs and services available in Silverdale, real estate tends to hold its value. So people who are buying in Silverdale tend to either realize the appreciation of their asset down the road when they sell, or they turn their primary home into a rental because it's a really great rental market as well, with the Navy base and the hospital and the great school district and all of those things that make a solid rental market too. So while Silverdale may be attractive because of the hospital and the lifestyle, the next neighborhood we're going to talk about is booming for an entirely different reason, and that is the city of Port Orchard. The downtown area of Port Orchard is getting a massive facelift. There's a nice little quaint downtown there, but behind it there's this giant public parking area, which sounds like snooze fest, like who wants to talk about parking? But a lot goes on there. They have car shows back there, they have a farmer's market back there, it's a transit center, there's a kids playground park, there's public water access, there's boat launches, there's boat moorage, there's a lookout to Puget Sound Naval Shipyard. So there's a lot going on that teeny tiny little waterfront. The Bay Street pedestrian pathway is meant to reconnect and improve waterfront walkability, which can shift demand towards that area over time. If you're a commuter, there are 2 foot ferries in downtown Port Orchard. Both foot ferries go right over to the Bremerton side. They dock right next to the State Ferry. They dock right next to the rest of the Kitsap Transit Fast Ferries. And now you're walkable to PSNS, the IMF Gate, all of downtown. So it's a major hub right in there that is directly accessible from the Port Orchard waterfront. Port Orchard can feel really spread out, but it's got a ton of different zoning and a ton of different housing options. It's going to feel much different from Bremerton. It's going to feel much different from Silverdale. It's going to be highly car dependent unless you live and work right in that downtown urban area. The housing availability in South Kitsap and in Port Orchard is going to be a mixed bag of all kinds of homes, all kinds of ages and styles, farmhouses to old craftsmen's to brand new construction. So who's buying in Port Orchard? People are relocating to Port Orchard because it's affordable. It's more affordable than, say, Central Kitsap. The property taxes are a little bit lower. Home prices are going to be a little bit lower. Also, people who need to commute to Gig Harbor or Tacoma are going to have a good time purchasing in Port Orchard because it's only about 20 minutes down the road to Tacoma. Whereas if you purchase up in Silverdale, you're going to add 15 to 20 minutes to that commute. Also, there are plenty of people who live in Port Orchard who work in Seattle. So Southworth have the Southworth Ferry, which takes you to West Seattle. So it's not going to drop you off right downtown, but it does drop you off in West Seattle. So if you work at like Todd Shipyard or something like that, you're going to have a convenient access to that with the Southworth Ferry. Okay, some of the trade-offs. So this is a big one because McCormick Master Plan and a lot of the surrounding areas are going to be family-style homes. So a lot of military families move in there. A lot of out-of-town families who are traveling here because of a job move in there. And so all of that is in South Kitsap School District. So South Kitsap School District owns a lot of the property around there that is yet to be developed. However, the residents have failed so far to pass any levy for the school district to be able to afford an expansion on the schools. So the high school, there's only one high school, and it's South Kitsap High School, and it is getting full. So they should probably build a second high school. They should probably build 1 or 2 more elementary or middle schools. And so that's just something to keep in mind when you're researching where your kiddos are going to go to school. So that was a snapshot of Port Orchard. The next area we're going to is booming for the identity. Welcome to Poulsbo. Why Poulsbo is one of the fastest growing townships in Kitsap County. Poulsbo has this amazing identity of being Little Norway, this great Scandinavian town in the heart of the Pacific Northwest. Not only that, but Poulsbo is in the heart of North Kitsap School District. So if you research the schools, like I just spoke about with South Kitsap, you're going to see North Kitsap School District, one of the more top-rated school districts in Kitsap County. The biggest areas that are growing right now in Poulsbo are the Lincoln Hill area and the Finn Hill area. And both of these areas are going to be pretty car dependent. They're, as the names would suggest, both up on hills, and they're going to be a lot of single-family home plan unit developments like we've been talking about so far. The difference is that these are in the North Kitsap School District, and so the property taxes are going to be a bit higher. The home prices are going to be a bit higher. Your dollar is not going to go as far. However, you are right next door to Bangor Base, so if you're stationed at Bangor, this is an ideal location for you. And what you're going to notice about Poulsbo is that it's actively running corridor and improvement projects, which means they're planning for more growth, they're planning for expansion and more demand, not less. So your day-to-day living in Poulsbo, some places will feel more suburban if you happen to get one of those neighborhoods right around the downtown. It is more urban than the suburban. However, it is not a busy downtown. It has a big tourist attraction in the summertime and fall time, but for the most part, it's just locals, a fairly quiet part of the county. And the housing availability, so the older homes, you're going to be right around that downtown area, right by the waterfront. And then as you move farther out, you're going to get, newer homes. So who is Poulsbo best for? People who want a quiet, identifiable Poulsbo neighborhood. People just love the idea of living in Poulsbo. It has a very sweet identity to it, and people just love it. They move in and they never move out. Poulsbo in general tends to hold its value really, really well, and it tends to also make a really great rental market. Some trade-offs about living in Poulsbo is, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to pay a premium. Homes are expensive. Property taxes are expensive. But overall, residents of Poulsbo really tend to love it. Poulsbo is the identity and planning runways story, but the next location we're going to talk about is probably one of Kitsap County's best kept secrets, and that is the township of Kingston. It is a mix of incredible waterfront and or view properties mixed with more family urban style developments. It's got the Kingston Edmonds Ferry, which takes you to Edmonds, which is just north of Seattle. So if you work on the east side but maybe don't need to go directly into downtown, this would be a great option. The Kingston Edmonds Ferry is a little bit smaller than the Bremerton Seattle Ferry or the Bainbridge Seattle Ferry, and because of that, it tends to back up a couple of sailings. So it doesn't take reservations. There are several ferry terminals around Puget Sound that take reservations, like for example, Port Townsend. Kingston isn't one of those that even offers them. So you need to show up early. You need to be patient, because if the sailing is full and you can't drive on, then you're going to be waiting for the next sailing. However, it also has fast ferry service through Kitsap Transit. So if you don't need to drive across, if walking is just fine for you, then you can access that as an alternative. One thing to be mindful of is Kingston is accessed via Highway 104, and it's kind of one of those secluded areas where there's only one way in and one way out. So if Highway 104 has any kind of construction project going on in 2026, that's going to affect your commute. So what does Kingston feel like day to day? It's pretty remote. It's about a 20-minute drive from Poulsbo, and so it's going to feel a little bit remote, a little bit removed, but people live there just for that reason. They don't want to be in the middle of the hustle and bustle of Silverdale or freeway traffic or anything like that. Kingston is a pretty good mix of older homes, and there's a few new construction developments that are happening up there, but very small. A lot of it is not zoned for urban development, so they just kind of found those couple of properties that would work for. For the most part, it's going to be lots of trees. On the water side, you're going to have lots of views. Who is Kingston best for? Kingston is a community for people who are not challenged by a commute. It's going to be for buyers who want a long-term hold. So people who are, maybe they're PCSing here for their last tour, and they're going to be here not just for the 4 years of their tour, but indefinitely. And so they want kind of more of like a forever style home. Kingston isn't going to be the most popular rental market, although there are plenty of rentals out there, just because it is a little bit removed. Kingston is pretty self-sustaining in terms of shopping and grocery and that sort of thing, so it's not like you have to go far. Kingston has a great little downtown area. It has a great farmers market on Sundays, so it's got a wonderful community feel. The trade-offs for living in Kingston are dollar may tend to not go as far. There's several seven-figure properties all throughout Kingston, so budgeting for for housing out there may be stretched a little farther than you would have originally considered. So while Kingston offers convenient ferry access to the east side, the next community we're going to talk about doesn't have any ferry access at all, and that is the community of Seabeck. Seabeck is zoned lots of rural residential, lots of urban low, lots of rural protected, very few planned unit developments. In fact, the only neighborhood in Seabeck is going to be Lake Symington. That's the only HOA community. It's quarter-acre lots, maybe some are a little bit larger, but that's the only neighborhood that's not necessarily on acreage. It is around Lake Symington, which is really lovely, but the rest of the properties are going to be lots of acreage, lots of trees. It's going to be very remote. Seabeck is going to attract home buyers who want a very rural lifestyle, an expanded lifestyle, room to breathe. You can't see your neighbors, tons of property out there that's got 5+ acres. And so it's going to attract people who just really enjoy that private, secluded lifestyle. There are quite a few trade-offs for that beautiful western-facing Hood Canal lifestyle, and that's going to be the commute. So you are on the west side of Newberry Hill, which means that you're going to have limited internet and cable. So a lot of people out there have satellite or CenturyLink. I know that Starlink is becoming more popular for those rural areas just because of that. You're going to have a longer commute into town. So depending on how far into Seabeck you are, you could be 20 minutes from Silverdale or 40 minutes. It goes on for a ways. You have to plan your grocery trips. It's going to be an all-day thing to go to Costco and Trader Joe's and Target and all these things you need to do. You can't just hey, what do you want for dinner real quick and run to the store 5 minutes away. There's none of that. So just some things to think about as you're commuting to and from and where you're thinking about purchasing, because these things can definitely impact your day-to-day lifestyle. So while Seabeck, western-facing Hood Canal waterfront, gorgeous, unbeatable views, is kind of remote and out there, the next neighborhood we're going to talk about is kind of right in town and maybe will check a lot of boxes, and that's the neighborhood of Chico. Chico is a neighborhood in Bremerton. You're going to have a Bremerton address, and it's going to be on Dyes Inlet, so you're going to have eastern-facing waterfront. Some of it's very low bank, just walk right into the water. It's amazing. Some of it you have views of Mount Rainier. A lot of it you're going to have just regular views of Dyes Inlet, even if you're not waterfront. So who is Chico for? So Chico in general is for people who want affordability and convenience to location. I think the location speaks really loudly here. It's right in between Bremerton and Silverdale proper. A lot of Chico, you can hear freeway noise because it is right next to Highway 3, so that's something to be mindful of. Other parts of Chico, tiered down towards the waterfront, are going to be a lot quieter. So there's going to be different neighborhoods and expansions that experience that, but it is kind of present. So just be mindful of that when you're exploring Chico as an option. Chico is a mix of 1970s, 80s, 90s construction, and then it kind of slowed down for a while and now it's booming again. So we have more brand new construction going in. Garrett Customs Homes is putting in a big neighborhood up at Skyfall. So there's a lot of new construction going in that's still a ways out, if you will, but it's present. So some of the most common mistakes I see home buyers make when they're moving to Bremerton and Kitsap County in general is they like the house, they see the house online, they love the pictures, the price is good, it's got the bedrooms they want, but the photos are going to be really limited to just that property, right? You have no idea how that home feels within the neighborhood. So you're picking the house before you pick the neighborhood, and you're buying the neighborhood when you buy the house, so you should probably understand the neighborhood as well. Another mistake is shopping just in the suburb when street by street it can feel really different. So, there are a couple of streets in Minette that I would not want to live in, but Minette as a whole is really beautiful and really gorgeous. So you want to make sure that you understand exactly where in the neighborhood you are buying and who your neighbors are going to be. And the biggest mistake I see home buyers make is working with an inexperienced agent. This can lead to major trouble, especially if you're coming from out of the area. If you're trying to get into Kitsap County early in 2026, the smartest move is not chasing the hottest listing. It's choosing the right neighborhood first and then buying the house second. If you are buying, selling, or relocating anywhere in Bremerton or Kitsap County in 2026, use the link in the description below to schedule a quick call. I'll help you compare all the neighborhoods, all the home styles, all the lifestyles, and all the changes happening in 2026 so you can move with clarity without guessing. I'm Cassandra Lopez. I help buyers and sellers relocate all over Kitsap County and make smart decisions with real numbers, real neighborhood context, and the truth about what home buyers are doing in your exact neighborhoods and price range right now.